Good day, Guardians. This is Lord Sarzix, and today is March 11th, 2021. And the TWAB this week is pretty spicy, so let's get into it. This week at Bungie, we prepare for Grandmaster. For years, we've been fighting to keep the last city and its people safe. Our latest efforts off-world to keep Cabal leaders from strengthening Kaitl's War Council have been fruitful, but sometimes the danger is closer to home than you'd think. If you haven't seen the cutscene that went live on Tuesday, we won't spoil it for you. All we'll say is that what happened will not be taken lightly. For the TWAB this week, we have a refresher on Grandmaster Nightfalls for the new lights out there, a preview for some Stasis Tuning coming next week, and results for our Festival of the Lost Armor ornament vote. Let's get to it. I made a video earlier this week regarding the cutscene that they're referencing, and it's pretty cool. It's pretty spicy, so yeah, if you haven't seen the cutscene, log in, check it out. It is really neat, and God, it looks so good. Now, moving on to Grandmaster Nightfalls. As we all know, they're going to be launching on the 16th, so Guardians, hope you're prepared for that one, because it will be difficult. But I have confidence in everybody. Personally, me and my fire team are going to try it out, try and get that Conqueror title. I haven't gotten it myself, haven't really been caring too much, but now with the addition of those adept weapons, oof, you best believe I'm getting an adept palindrome. Oh, I want that thing so bad. It looks so good. On screen, I have the requirements for the Grandmaster Nightfall. The first thing is that strikes will be set to 1350 power in Grandmaster. However, contest mode will be enabled, so 1325 is going to be the limit. Anything beyond that won't give you an advantage. Each one will have different modifiers, so make sure your fire team is set up so that way you can deal with anything that comes your way. There will be a new Grandmaster Nightfall each week until April 20th. And starting on the 20th, you'll have the opportunity to blaze through all of the Grandmaster Nightfalls through a direct launch playlist. So that way, if you miss any weeks, you can bump those out and get your Conqueror seal that you need. Next week, you'll also have the opportunity to earn the adept versions of the Shadow Price, Palindrome, and the Swarm in the Grandmaster Nightfalls. These are similar to the Trials versions, where once mastered, they grant an additional stat, and you can slot adept weapon mods into them. Now, like I said, I'm going for the Palindrome. I've been having a lot of fun with that thing, a lot of nostalgia, and man, is it so much fun to use. Next week, you'll also be able to earn the Gilded version of the Conqueror title, so if you're looking for that, go for it. Now that we're done with all of the Grandmaster Nightfall stuff, we can get to the real juicy stuff, the patch note previews for March 16th, 2021. I am super excited because they're finally nerfing Stasis. They're doing some changes to strikes, which is pretty interesting, some weapon and armor changes, always nice to see, but the Stasis is the big daddy. Now, we're just going to glaze over a bit on strikes, weapons, and armor. Bunch of bug fixes for strikes, things that were going awry. For weapons and armor, a bunch of minor things. The biggest one being Risk Runner had its VFX updated due to epileptic issues. This is a big one because epileptic is a health hazard and can be dangerous to the players. As for armor, there were a few minor bug fixes with some exotics. Icons being shifted, things like that. And now for the main event, the Stasis Tuning. The thing that everybody has been asking for and everybody has been dreading because, man, Stasis is so good, but it has to go. Before we dive into the patch notes, we have a few words from the team to walk through the goals of this tuning pass. Hey everyone, gameplay team at Bungie here. We made some targeted changes to Stasis in Season 12, and wanted to see how they landed before making any more adjustments. Now that we've had several weeks of data to analyze, we're ready to make some further changes to address additional pain points of Stasis in PvP. Alright, PvP focus, that's what's important, I like to see it. Our goal with these changes is to reduce some of the frustrations when fighting against Stasis subclasses in the Crucible while maintaining their power in PvE content wherever possible. Alright, see, that's a good change. Keeping it good in PvE while making sure it's tuned in PvP. Now they know what they're doing. With that said, some changes required us to adjust the global behavior of some abilities. In the patch notes below, we've explicitly mentioned which changes will affect Crucible functionality only. We'll be closely monitoring ability performances and feedback as Season 13 continues. Thanks for playing, and we're excited to see how the future Stasis unfolds. That's interesting. They're trying to separate the PvE and PvP sandboxes of Stasis, which I'm a fan of. I like things to be strong in PvE, but balanced in PvP. That's always my philosophy. So, let's check them out. We'll start with the Hunter. Shatter Dive. Remove damage resistance from Shatter Dive. Alright. Added a 4-second cooldown between activations of Shatter Dive. Alright, that seems fair. Shatter Dive was very oppressive for a long time, and now it's getting that good old nerf that it's needed. Next we have Withering Blade. Decrease Withering Blade damage against players from 90 to 65 damage. PvE damage is unchanged. So it's not going to be doing as much, but it makes sense. You used to be able to just 2-tap people, and that's a little overpowered. Decrease Withering Blade slow stacks applied to players from 60 to 40 stacks. PvE slow stacks are unchanged. Alright, so a little bit lighter on the slow. Alright, makes sense. Decrease the target acquisition range of Withering Blade after it impacts a player from 12 meters to 8 meters. Range after impacting PvE enemies is unchanged. Now that one I don't know about. I feel like the ricochet off another player is fine, but if Bungie thinks it's bad, then I guess it's gotta go, right? Now, let's move on to the Titan. Glacial Quake. Removed AoE freeze against players on super cast. Will still freeze PvE enemies on cast. Alright. Reduce damage resistance while in super from 60% to 50%. Small nerf, nothing crazy. Increase the energy cost of using Shiver Strike while in Glacial Quake from 3% to 7% super energy. Using a combo of Shiver Strike into a heavy slam attack will now cost the full super energy of both the Shiver Strike and the slam, previously only costing energy for the slam. Shiver Strike. Increase downwards velocity applied to Shiver Striking players when they are slow to pull them out of the air more strongly. Interesting. All right. So Titan's also getting a little bit of a tune. This one just seems to be more focused on the super than anything, but I'm happy to see it. And finally, we have the Warlock, starting with Winter's Wrath. Improved tracking of Winter's Wrath projectiles, now tracking strength decays from its max value over 10 seconds instead of 2.2 seconds. Increase the size of the Warlock's super projectile's proximity detonation radius 1.5 meters to 1.65 meters. The proximity detonation now starts at its largest and scales down to 40% over time. Alright, so it's looking like Winter's Wrath is going to receive a little bit of a less damage, more consistency type deal. That's what it's looking at for me. Penumbral Blast. Decrease Penumbral Blast damage against players from 80 to 30 damage. PvE damage is unchanged. Ice Flare Bolts. Fixed a bug where Ice Flare Bolts would continuously try to switch targets. Increased target acquisition range of Ice Flare Bolts by 33%. Increased turning speed of Ice Flare Bolts so they can more effectively hit nearby targets. And finally, Chaos Reach. Decrease the amount of super energy refunded when canceling Chaos Reach only. Alright, so it's looking like Warlock's got the most hit. We'll see how it plays after, but that's all for those Stasis Tuning for the supers and the characters individually. And now let's get into some of the more generalistic things. Dustfield Grenade. Reduced how slowly Dustfield Grenade pulls players inwards, effectively reducing the pull range from 9.5 meters to roughly 6 meters. PvE pull impulse is unchanged. Reduce how slow stacks applied to players by the grenade detonation from 20 to 10 stacks. Detonation slow stacks are unchanged against PvE. Adjusted the UI presentation of the slowed status to display slow stacks as X over 100 instead of X over 10 to increase readability when adding slow stack amounts that are fewer than 10. Stasis Crystals. Reduced crystal shatter damage against players from 85 max, 55 minimum to 55 max, 25 minimum. PvE damage is unchanged. Whisper of Chains. Reduced Whisper of Chains damage resistance bonus while in super from 25% to 5%. Damage resistance when not in super is unchanged. This only affects damage from other guardians. Whisper of Torment. Fixed a bug where players could continuously proc Whisper of Torment while standing inside an opponent's barricade. Stasis Fragment quests. Significantly reduced objective completion values for all Crucible Fragment quests. And finally, to round things out, we were asked to vote on what we wanted the Festival of the Lost ornaments to be. We had two to choose from. The first one was movie monsters, and the second one was dinosaurs. Personally, my favorite movie is Jurassic Park, so I immediately ran to Bungie's page, slammed that dino button. Team Dino got 81%, and Team Monsters got 19% of the votes. It's crazy. And, as always, I'll be with you in the shadows.
You gotta hand it to them. The Cabal sure get creative when it comes to warfare.
You think? All they're doing is retrofitting Vex technology.
Well, sure. If it's there, they might as well use it. Gotta be resourceful when you've been turned out of house and home. That goes double for when the Hive God of War is the one turning you out.
Is that a note of compassion I hear in your voice, Holiday?
No, not one bit. How dare you?
My apologies.
I respect their hustle. That's all.